notes today was about model percents. The big idea here is asking ourselves this question: how can I use diagrams to communicate mathematical ideas? Diagrams such as 100 grids and diagrams such as fraction bars. Now let's go ahead and read the problem given. Jackie is using 1-inch tiles to make the mosaic shown at the right. She needs a total of 100 tiles. What percent of the tiles are green? What do you know? What do you need to find? As you can see, I already underlined important information and I circled the keyword on the question. That will help me solve the problem. Now what we need to do next is make a list of the things that we know about the problem. Based on the problem, Jackie will use 1-inch tiles and she will need a total of 100 tiles. Now you have to ask yourself, what do we need to find? So we refer back to the question. I circled the keyword percent. And which percent of the tiles do we need? Percent of the tiles that are green. Now the diagram that will help us is the hundreds grid. A 10 by 10 grid can be used to represent hundreds. It can also represent percents. The word percent means out of 100. For example, 50% means 50 out of 100. Just like the picture on the right side. Now let's look at the hundreds grids closely and try to count the ones that are green. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I'll continue counting down here on the right side. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Just take note of that. That's 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then continue around it. Go ahead and add them up, all the green tiles around the mosaic, and we're going to have a total of 36 green tiles. Also, in step 1, the green tiles can be represented this way. Now on step 2, in the mosaic, blank tiles out of 100 are green. As a fraction, this is 36 out of 100. When the denominator is 100, the numerator gives the numerical value of the percent. So, 36% of the squares are green. Remember, the denominator is your bottom number and the numerator is your top number. And therefore, everything that is out of 100 will always mean percentage or can be written as a percent. Now let's move on to page 354. So any fraction with the bottom number of 100 can be written as a percent. Just like, for example, the 1 out of 100 is equivalent to a 1% or can be written as a 1%. Let's say you have 10 out of 100 shaded. So 10%, 10 are shaded out of 100 tiles. Therefore, you can say that 10% of the tiles are shaded. Same thing with 25 out of 100. As long as the bottom number is 100, you can write it as a percent. Don't forget the percent symbol. And it's vice versa. If I see something with a percent, that means I can write it as a fraction with 100 at the bottom. So just write down the number on the top. On activity 2, we have to model 25% with a 10 by 10 grid or a hundreds grid. Now we have an idea that 25% means 25 shaded out of 100. Step 2, shade the squares, filling one column at a time. That's 10 squares. 20 squares shaded now. Now 25 shaded out of 100. What fraction of the 10 by 10 grid is shaded? 25 out of 100. What decimal represents the shaded part of the grid? Now, we don't have everything shaded, only 25 out of 100. This only means that we cannot write it as one whole or 1.0. Rather, we have to write it as a number less than one whole, using hundredths as the place value of your number. Percents can also be modeled with bar diagrams or strip diagrams. The entire bar represents 100%. The bar diagram below is divided into 10 equal sections, each representing 10%. The shaded region represents 40%. So, as a fraction, I can write this down as 4 boxes shaded out of 10, which also will equal to 40 out of 100 when multiplied both top number and bottom number by the same factor, which is 10. And we all know that a fraction with 100 at the bottom can be written as a percent. So this 40 out of 100 is the same thing as 40%. So here, 4 out of 10 is also equivalent to 40%. 4 out of 10 is just a simplified form of 40 out of 100. So let's look at another example here. Model 60% with a bar diagram. Step 1. The bar diagram below is divided in 2 blank equal sections. To find the value of each section, divide 100% by 5 sections, which will equal to 20%. So, each section represents 20% after dividing 100 by 5. So, if we have to model 60% out of these 5 boxes, how many boxes should we shade in? That should be 3 boxes that will equal to 60%. So to show my work, I have to write down 3 out of 5 boxes, meaning 3 shaded out of 5 total boxes. Now, I know that I can change 5 into 100 because 5 is a factor of 100. By multiplying 5 by 20, it will equal to 100. Now I have to do the same thing on the top number. And now we can see that 3 out of 5 is equivalent to 60 out of 100, which can also be written as 60%. So, 3/5 or 3 out of 5 is equivalent to 60%. 60 out of 100 is equivalent to 60%. The 3 out of 5 is just a simplified form of 60 out of 100. Now let's try what you've learned. Write the following fractions as a percent. You have to copy the 3 items below on your notebook or math journal. You have to show your work for each item and finalize your answer by circling each answer for each item. Remember that a fraction with 100 at the bottom can be written as a percent right away. And when the bottom number is not 100, you have to change it into 100 by multiplying the number at the bottom by a factor that will turn it into 100. Then you have to do the same thing on the top to make an equivalent fraction. You can always rewind this video and learn from our examples earlier. I hope to see all your work on our next Zoom meeting. Good luck! Now please make sure to like and subscribe and share our video. Thank you for watching!